This is a subtle thing, by the way. This is part of like constantly improving. The way that I describe it is if you think about a cat and mouse game, today it's cat and mouse. Tomorrow it becomes, I don't know, rodent and bobcat. And then it eventually gets to, I don't know, gazelle and I don't know, cheetah. That's my best example of saying the cat and mouse game gets a little crazy. We're trying not to play the back and forth all day, every day. And so one of the major things that's happening behind the scenes, it's actually a platform feature, but right now it's only related to EDR, is upgrading our ability to do correlations, right? So if you take a look on its own, if anybody's ever seen data across even a couple hundred computers, let alone a couple thousand, you have all kinds of pieces of software like your RMM, right? Doing its own thing. Maybe sometimes it's cleaning some of the shadow copies, saving space. Maybe there's sometimes that like some BCD edit type commands are being done. Maybe you're hardening boot configurations. There's all kinds of reasons, but we see these all the time. And oftentimes these low and medium things can be combined into very, very sensitive rules. And so as we were working more on ransomware, like for better or worse, ransomware happens. It happens against all players, all companies, etc. But the part we wanted to share is there is juice sometimes that you can squeeze, not in the obvious places, meaning not adding more telemetry, but doing more with what you already have. If anybody remembers any of our previous product labs, we talk a lot about this Pareto principle, right? That we use at Huntress. What 20% of data will yield 80% of the value? It's the same reason that we don't store raw network traffic like on the SIM. Raw network traffic is valuable, but at the cost that it takes to secure versus the risk your company is facing, generally speaking, it's not a great business decision on that end. It also is going to be very expensive. If you have Formula One budgets, buy a Formula One race car. Huntress is much closer to a high-end, uncompromising Lamborghini, and they still are fast enough to outpace hackers. So keep that in mind. It's not nobody says, oh, I only have to drive a Lambo. The point that we're getting across is these little things that we're doing here are very specific on saying, how do we keep not only your cost predictable, minimize your alerts, but notice this case. This was all in the testing phase. And this was an actual scenario. Notice over here, made it to ransomware. And more along this lines of being able to say, when we're finding these medium things, if we didn't have this correlation rule to be able to do it, this is what the timeline would have played out. So it's a little bit of taking historics and saying a what if. What if this was run and this correlation was here and we had isolated at this time? You can see valuable time, right? Happening at the 8:31 mark. And then actual things, going down, you can see actually at 9:30, about an hour difference here. These correlations really, really matter. So I know you'll never see this externally. I just wanted to share with folks this type of daily innovation. If you don't do it, you just get wrecked. So I hope that's like music to your ears. There's no extra cost for this type of stuff. And the same correlations is going to allow cross-product correlations as well. So even though I only gave you an EDR example, so really fun stuff going on in the lab.